Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Book Talk with Cara. I am so delighted today to introduce you to Nicole Barrett and have her on to talk about her brand new book, Where He Left Me. And you're going to love it. If you love suspense, especially with a man against nature and man against man, I mean, there are all the things happening in this book. You're going to love it. But before we start talking about that, Nicole, I want to give you a chance to tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Cara. It's so great to meet you and to be on your show. Yeah, I'm a Midwesterner. I am married to a wonderful man who's the chief of staff at a university in our small town. I'm the mother of five, and this is book number 12 for me.
Yeah, and that's incredible that you've got 12 books and they're all different. You've got like some that are more like women's fiction and then the suspense ones, which those are two very different genres. But this one, Where He Left Me, is very much a page turner. And it's got almost, it's not quite a thriller because it's not the huge ticking time bomb that the world's going to explode, but it has that ticking time bomb kind of feel because there's this woman who's left alone in this cabin, a very remote cabin, and she's not sure where her husband's gone. And it's like he just kind of disappeared. But then there's this element of, I mean, she's on this remote mountain and it feels like nature could be coming for her. And then there's these people like on her mountain. And so there's all these different elements coming at her. And she is not an outdoorsy girl. I could so relate to her. She's a professor at a small university. And I'm like, yep, I'm a professor. I don't really, I love the outdoors, but I don't want to be like, I'm not a Girl Scout, put me in a tent type of person. And so I could just so relate to this, kind of displaced in this crazy type of environment. How did you get the what if for this book? I mean, how did your mind go, oh, let's put her in this situation and have all these crazy things happen to her?
Yeah, so my husband is from British Columbia, Canada, and we lived there for several years after we were married. And I am ab actually the opposite of my main character, Sadie. I'm very outdoorsy. We used to bush camp, like
Oh
take
gosh.
a car, yeah, take a car up into the mountains and hike into a place and like pitch a tent in the middle of nowhere. We're nowhere near a camp. So I love that. But we had taken our kids back to British Columbia a couple of years ago and we were hiking and it was, just a perfect Pacific Northwest day where it was gloomy and a little bit foggy and there was like dew in the trees and stuff. And we walked past this old train track, this abandoned train track. And I actually have the photograph. If you go to my social media, I'll post it today so you guys can see it, or I'll post it, you can see it. But the train track went off into the trees and then in the mist and stuff. And I swear, when I crossed that train track, I saw someone. I was just convinced that at the far end, somebody was walking through the mist, and it terrified me, but it excited me. Like I wanted to figure out who was there and why, and I took a bunch of pictures that day, and it's just stayed with me for literal
Mhm.
years. Like this happened a long time ago, and I've always wanted to write a book about it.
Well, and that's, I mean, basically what you did with this story, because you've got this idea. Okay, and I'm going to try to say this in a way that there's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
That, there's people.
Yeah.
And it's like I've spent a lot of time, well, we vacationed in the mountains of North Carolina several times. And there's just, you'll be driving in the mountains and there's just these random shacks. And then there's like vacation homes. And I always look at the shacks and I'm like, who lives there?
Yeah.
And what do they do? How do they survive? And, I'll get those kind of questions, but I haven't written a book about it. So you took it that next step and we're like, okay, so let's see, how could this work and what could happen? Um, and so you've got,
Brilliant.
this whole scenario, kind of this going back home is kind of a theme as well. Or if that's what it felt like to me. Was that kind of a theme that you were weaving into it? Or is that just something? Because I know sometimes when I talk with readers and they'll be like, oh, I saw this in the book. And I'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you saw that.
Yeah.
I did not intend that at all.
Definitely. So one of the things that I wanted to address in this book is being an older woman. I think so many books, the protagonist is 20 or 30, like she's rarely older than her early 30s. And
Yeah,
I'm in my late 40s now. And
yeah.
I wanted to write about a woman like me who's at a crossroads, at a bit of a precipice. My Sadie is a little bit younger than that. She's 41, but she's newly married for the very first time. And I really wanted her to deal with all of the battles and issues that I feel like women my age are. So she has a lot of insecurity. She's never been married before. So she's kind of battling herself and her own fears and insecurities and demons. And then she's battling the fact that her husband is missing. Like they've only been married for a year, and everything that she feared might be true about getting married later in life is starting to come true, at least in her mind. And then she's battling the elements, nature comes. There's a huge storm in this book, and there is a bit of a ticking clock in that there's a
Mhm.
couple of days and they have to survive. And then there's people from the outside world. So it's kind of everything, and that's how I feel right now in my life. I mean, not that I'm battling, intruders into my home, or I did actually experience a storm this week that we had to battle through. But it kind of feels like everything's coming at you. And I wanted Sadie to deal with that too. And yeah, I hope
Yeah.
it came out.
It definitely did. And sometimes life does feel that way, that everything's just kept coming at us. And you guys had a Dreco or something like that
We
in
did. Yep.
Iowa. So,
Yep.
I mean,
A
you
great
don't
show. Mhm.
expect those in the middle of the country to have
No,
those hurricane-like storms, but it can happen anywhere where all of a sudden it feels like everything's turning against us and our worst fears are coming true, and we're seeing things where they may or may not exist. And so, and part of what she's kind of coming to grips with is what's true, what's not, what is being overblown in her mind, or is she actually overblowing things? Because there is this reality that she thinks she has help, like a cell tower. And then does she have that? And so as things are kind of getting stripped away, what's she going to believe? Where is she going to let fear take over? And we all get to make that choice every day, no matter how big the thing going on around us is. Is it that we're going to be trapped on the side of a mountain in this shack of a house? Or is it that there's something else going on in our life? We all get to choose fear or not. And so I found that something that was very relatable about Sadie, and for all of us. So as you're thinking about like this story, um, and it was fascinating because it's like all told from her perspective, but there's all these other characters that are very much part of the story. Why did you make the choice to tell it all from her perspective?
yeah, that's a great question. In my previous books, I really like playing with POV and with the narrators. I'll use lots of different narrators and lots of different POVs. And I really wanted to write a straightforward story, and I really wanted to get inside Sadie's heart and mind. So I left those other perspectives out. Although I did write some chapters from the perspective of Felix, her husband, and they're actually included in a pre-order giveaway. So if people
Mm.
pre-order the book, they will get one of the Felix chapters just to kind of see his perspective. But I don't know. I wanted to try something different, and I really wanted to give my full attention to this character who I love. I think Sadie is strong. I think
Mm.
she's fierce. I think her vitality and her desire to find her husband and to do what she can to care for those around her and take care of her world. I really liked her, and I wanted to make her kind of the centerpiece of this book.
And it works. It completely works. I'm curious what Felix sounds like, but I think it could have really diluted it to add other voices and perspectives, because I think that part of the power of, where he left me is the fact that we're so deeply embedded into her and she's so out of her element. Now we do jump back and forth in time a little bit. And so we get to see kind of their romance. So not like a true dual timeline where you're going back and forth like 20 years or something. It's only a few years, but we get to see kind of what their romance was and then the present day. Um, and that was an interesting way to tell the story as well, because you get to see why it's so jarring that he's not where he said he was going to be.
Yeah. I felt like if we don't see the him on the page at all, how on earth are we going to believe that they love each other and that she desperately wants to find
Mhm.
him and bring him home? So I don't know. I
Yeah.
hope that that worked.
Oh, it was great. I loved it a lot. So, when you think about, you're a mom of five, you're writing all these books. What's your biggest challenge as an author?
Time. It's, it always comes down to time for me. I've been writing since I just had two. When my first book came out, I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I wrote when my kids were napping, when they were sleeping at night, and when they were with their grandma for just an hour or two. So I
Yeah.
squeezed it in the margins. And I really believed that as my kids got older, it would be easier because they're more independent. Like I don't have to change a diaper or feed them. Like my boys are actually in the kitchen right now making themselves breakfast. They're perfectly capable of that. But the amount of time required for older kids, even kids in high
Yes.
school and college, is just staggering to me. I have less time now than I did when they were little. And it's so wonderful. I love my kids. I love my busy family. They're all involved in numerous athletic activities and sports and things at school and whatnot. And I love being their biggest cheerleader and being there for them. But finding time is really,
Yeah.
really hard. Mhm.
Yeah. No one tells you that they actually need more of your time as they
Yeah.
get older. Because I had the same thought. I started writing when my older two were 1 and 4,
Yeah.
and writing when they were napping and when they would go to bed. And I was like, oh, it'll be easier. And no, because my main writing hours were 9 to midnight or whatever. But that's when high school kids want to talk, and definitely college age kids want to talk. And I was like, okay, so now what am I supposed to write?
For sure.
And yeah, it's been a challenge to definitely find that time as the kids have gotten older. But again, I cherish that time, so I want to be available to them. But it is a big challenge for sure. But when
Yeah.
did you first know you were a writer? Was it you just were like, okay, I've got these two kids, now I want to try something new? Or was it like this long-held desire that it just kind of came to fruition at that stage? How did you know that this was something you wanted to do?
I have wanted to be a writer my whole life. I have a little bit of a tragic backstory in that I was born with a birth defect and had numerous surgeries when I was a little girl.
Mhm.
So the only way that I could find escape and release and joy, like in those surgery days and in the recovery days afterwards, was through reading. It
Mhm.
just, yeah, opened up the universe for me, obviously, fantasy and romance and adventure and fun. And yeah, I loved it so much. And when I was a really little girl, I knew that I wanted to write stories too. I became a high school English teacher, so I got kind of as adjacent to that as I could possibly get. And I got to teach literature and writing for many years, which I loved. But yeah, when I was 28, yeah, I was published at 29. So when I was 28,
Okay.
I had the opportunity to get 50 pages of a manuscript into the hands of an acquisitions editor at a publishing house. And I took it and she loved it, and
Yeah,
the rest is history. So
that's awesome. That's great because it doesn't always happen that quickly for people.
I know I have a bit of a Cinderella story, and my agent is like, you shouldn't tell people that because usually it's really hard. And that's not to say that my career has been easy by any stretch of the imagination. Like my hard just came later.
Yeah,
But this wonderful opportunity was, yeah, it was available to me and it worked. So I'm incredibly
that's
grateful.
awesome. Yeah, mine was similar that, started writing, like officially writing, and then a year later had the contract and then the book and then it won an award. But yeah, then it's staying published isn't always easy, and figuring out, where the audience is and things like that. But that's wonderful. It's nice to hear when there are those, oh, the getting published was a lot easier than I thought it would be, but you've been preparing for it your whole life, which is fantastic. So what were some of those stories that provided that escape for you when you needed it as a child and young adult?
Yeah, so I was really little, like 3, 4, and 5, when I
Okay.
fell in love with reading. But some of my favorites when I was like reading on my own and a little bit older, everybody knows Lucy Maud Montgomery
Uh, Anne of
and
Green
Anne of
Gables.
Green Gables. But my favorites weren't Anne of Green Gables. They were the Emily of New Moon books.
Yeah, those are good too.
Yes, I just adored those. So I read them voraciously over and over and over. And obviously I loved C.S. Lewis.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there are so many classics that shaped who I am today. J.R.R. Tolkien, I loved fantasy back in the day. Um, yeah, I'd get my hands on anything I could. And I was a very
Yeah.
eclectic reader. Like it didn't have to be a specific genre. If it was a good book, I would read it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and then you can learn so much about writing from reading good books. And
Oh, yeah.
I think it makes such a difference. Like sometimes when people are struggling to get published, I'm like, well, do you read? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, start
Yeah,
reading. That'll make a
yeah,
difference.
for sure.
So when you were writing, like Where He Left Me, was there, because the hero's an astronomy professor,
Yeah.
and then your heroine teaches English. They're in they're in the mountains of Washington State, I believe, but they're teaching at a small, what I picture as a liberal arts college.
Yeah.
There's all these different things that they're doing in places that they are. Was there like research or something like that that you had to do that then you couldn't put into this story? Or was there something that you had to add or take out that you were like, oh, this really needs to be in there? And then your editor was like, nope, this needs to come out, or something that you had to add in that like whole editing process?
Yeah, so I told you about hiking and the story of the guy at the end of the train track,
Yeah.
but the other part of the story is that my husband and I were at a conference in Arizona in February a couple of years ago. And after one of the sessions, they said, we have a professor of planetary sciences here, and he's going to take us outside for anybody who would like to look at the night sky. And they're going
Oh,
to be
and in Arizona.
Yes, Arizona, right? They don't have light pollution so that people can, look at the stars and stuff. So I had never done anything like that before. And I thought, oh, sure, that'll be fun, whatever. No, I fell completely in love. Like looking through those telescopes and having him explain, like he was such an interesting man, and he was so passionate about his field of study that he just ignited something in me, and I completely fell in love with astronomy and
Oh,
planetary
that's so
science.
cool.
So yeah, so I ended up reading a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson and picking up books on like relativity and trying to figure this out. I'm not a very sciencey person, so this was
Yeah.
all very I don't know, kind of just for fun for me. But I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about the constellations. And then last year while I was writing, I don't know if you've experienced this where you are, but we could see the Northern Lights like multiple times. We
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, it was incredible. I was a part of a couple of like star watching boards and whatnot, and one night somebody posted, "You're going to be able to see the Northern Lights tonight." So I took my kids out. We drove out on a gravel road, and sure enough, like the stripes of color in the sky was just incredible. So I fell in love with that. I put a lot of that in the book, and my editor was like, "Oh, let's pull back on that just a little bit. Like this isn't a science textbook." So I hope that there's enough in there that yeah, makes people excited about looking up. Um, but I hope
Yeah.
it's not too much. Yeah.
No, it was a good balance because you could
Oh,
see
good.
his passion and you could see her catching it, but without it becoming a textbook. And really, that's what every professor hopes to do is take their subject and make it engaging for students. As if that's so fun. And being able to see it in Arizona where you could just, depending on where, I mean, if you're in Phoenix, there's going to be so much light pollution,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there are so many spaces in Arizona where you would just be able to see stars and galaxies for forever. It would be amazing.
Oh yeah, we were on a mountain. It was unreal.
Oh,
So great. And I just finished listening to Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I don't know if
okay.
you've heard, like it just came out,
No.
but it's super, super popular. I think it was like number one for the last couple weeks or whatever. But
Okay.
it's all about astronomy and going to space too. So I was like, wow, these
Everywhere.
yeah,
That's
it's
so cool.
everywhere. Yeah.
That's so cool. I'll have to look for that because that would
Yeah.
be fun. That was one of my favorite classes in undergrad was astronomy. And we got to, for extra credit, he set up his telescope with cameras and we had to take photos and identify different constellations and things. And
So cool.
yeah, I mean, it is. It's the kind of stuff you don't just go out and do, but to be able to look through the telescopes and see the stars is really incredible. So when you think about Where He Left Me. When you were writing it, did you have people picked out that if this was made into a movie that you'd be like, oh, these are the people who should star in it? Do you do that kind of thing?
You know what? I don't watch a lot of movies. I wish that
Yeah.
I did, but I'm so busy I don't really have time. So my husband and I will like we pick a show, one
Yeah.
single show, and we will watch like one episode every 3 or 4 nights, and it takes us months to get through it. So I don't really even know who's current right now.
I know. Yeah, I feel if someone asked me that question, I'd probably be like, I don't some of my books I'd be like, oh yeah, it's these two people and they should definitely play it like 20 years ago when they were
Yeah,
younger. They would have been perfect for the roles.
right?
Um, and
Exactly.
then other times I'm like, who do you think it should be? And yeah, so it's sometimes I'm like, that's probably not the fairest question, but some people are like,
Right.
oh yeah, I know exactly who it should be. And
Oh, well, I
so,
love Jennifer Garner, and I think she would be a perfect Sadie because she is a
oh, she
little,
would.
yeah, outdoorsy and down to earth, or
Yeah.
not too. I'm saying that wrong. Her husband is outdoorsy. Anyway,
But she's down to earth. So she would
yeah, she's
kind
down
of
to earth. Thank
she would
you.
fit in that role really
Yeah,
well.
I think so too.
Slightly fish out of water when it comes to the outdoors, but it would all
Yeah.
work. It would definitely work. So I love it. So do you celebrate when you finish a book? I'll be honest, I'm terrible at this. I'm always curious if somebody has a like celebration I should adopt because 45 books in, I still just kind of tend to go straight.
45?
Yeah, I
Have you
tend to go
written
straight.
40? Oh
Mhm.
my goodness. I didn't know that. That's amazing, Cara. Wow.
Yeah, I've written a few.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
I yeah. When I finish a book, I know this sounds ridiculous, but I cry. I'm like,
No.
it's done. And it's just such an emotional release. Like
Yeah.
there's a little bit of grief in there because you've spent, in some cases, months or years with these characters and it's over and you hope that people love it. But it's also joy. Like I'm done. I worked so
Yeah.
hard and I finished this. So yeah, I cry a little bit. I call my husband. He usually takes the whole family out for dinner that night just so I don't have to cook or think about it or worry about it. And then after that, I think a lot of people imagine that when you type the letters the end or the words the end, that it's over. And
Yeah.
that's just the beginning in publishing. Like
It's so
that's,
true.
yeah, the real work begins after the final words are written. So yeah,
Yeah.
I turn it into, I start to turn it into my agent, then it goes to editor, and then we start editing, and there's just a lot of changes that need to be made. I've rewritten a lot of books that I finish it, and then I know it's not quite finished because I'm going to have a lot of work to do. So, yeah, it's a bit of
Yeah.
a bag.
Well, and it's almost like, okay, so what stage do you celebrate that it's done? Is it page proofs? Is it like, to me, it's like, it feels like it's done when I turn it in, but now I've done enough that I'm like, well, no, because it's like, I guess when I get the copy like this, then I can go, okay, now it's done. But by then I'm so far past it. Normally I'm either on to the next proposal or I'm on to the next. I've probably written another book by the time I get the arc of
Uh,
that book. And so then it's kind of anticlimactic. Maybe that's why I just don't celebrate. I'm like, well, I'm already moved on. And so it's kind of funny. But
I'll tell you a funny little thing before the interview today. This is my first one for Where He Left Me, and I'm already working on my next book. So
yeah,
I had to pick up the arc and flip through it to remind myself, like, what are the names of my characters and what happens in this book?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm always like, okay, back cover copy.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the names? Because I got in this cycle where, and I'm surprised my editors didn't catch this and say, you have got to change the names of a couple of your heroes. Because I had heroes that all had C names and nobody caught that. So I'm
Oh,
like, what is the name of the character, the hero in this book? Because they're all C's. And
yeah.
normally I'll catch that or somebody will catch it. Nobody caught it. So I'm always like, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
The hero in this book is a blah, 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 and he does da, 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 da. And so, but yeah,
Right.
I'll often be sitting there with the book going, oh yeah, this one. Oh yeah, I know that. I like this book. This is good. But I always
Yeah.
have to do that. I always have to grab the book and look at it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, okay, a couple faster questions as we wrap up. Um, So when you're on deadline and you're writing, towards turning it in for the first time, do you write like a set number of hours a day, or are you writing like a word count? How do you write?
I try very hard to hit a word count every day. My goal is 1,000. I'm pretty gracious with myself. If it's less than that, I'm like, it's all right. You had
Yeah,
doctor's appointments for your kids and you had to drive carpool and you had all these things going on. But I love it on days when I can do more than that too. So
yeah.
yeah, I shoot for 1,000.
Are you a plotter or a pantser or somewhere in between?
Oh, I used to be a complete pantser, and then I started writing more mystery and suspense and realized that if I don't plot, I have no idea what's going on. Like, you need
Yeah,
to drop red herrings, you need to have foreshadowing, everything needs to fit together like a puzzle at the end. And if you don't know what the puzzle is, how on earth can you put it together
yeah.
in a logical order? So I do have to plot a little bit more now. But I like to leave room for freedom too, to see if something will inspire me or drag me in a different direction in it, and it often does.
And when you're writing, do you have a snack that'll be like at your keyboard next to you?
Yeah, I'm not much of a snacker, but I was going to say I'm a drinker.
Yeah.
Not alcohol, but this is tea. I have lattes. I'm a
Mhm.
huge fan of sparkling waters.
Oh,
I have a,
yes.
yes, I have a huge collection of sparkling water, so I always have to have something to sip on.
Yeah. I love my sparkling water. Love it. If you could
Me too.
see beyond my virtual background, you would see like a stack of different boxes of virtual water in my office, or
Okay,
not
so
virtual, sparkling water in my office.
what's your favorite? I have to know.
I love San Pellegrino blood orange, but I don't buy that often. But I love
That's
that
my
one.
favorite too. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
it.
there's something about the blood orange that's just so good. I'm like, you don't need sugar or anything. It's just so refreshing.
Oh, good. Yep.
So
I
good.
also really like the Spindrift grapefruit. That one's really good.
Ooh. And I like the Target off-brand cucumber mint.
Oh, I haven't tried that one. Okay.
It's something really refreshing about that. I guess it's like Good and Gather or whatever their like
Yeah.
Target brand is. I
Yep.
love the cucumber mint. I don't know why,
Okay.
but I do.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Okay, so Where He Left Me releases on November 4th. And Nicole, where can people learn more about you and your books?
Yeah, I would love it if you'd come and find me online. I have a website, of course. It's Nicole Baart, NICOLEBAART.com. But I'm also on Instagram, Threads, Facebook. I have a Substack that's called This Stays Here. It's not about writing. It's different. It's about community, building community and being a good neighbor. So I write essays there and I love doing that. So come find me. I love connecting with my community and I would love to get to know you.
I love that. And your Instagram is beautiful. I just love the photos and the all the things you curate there. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for joining me today. It was great to chat with you. And Where He Left Me releases in early November, and I loved it. It was a page turner.
Thank you, Kara. That means the world to me. And thanks for having me.